This is probably the weirdest movie I've ever seen. Let's do it. 964 Pinocchio opens up and we're in some sort of laboratory and we see this person or this thing being lobotomized and then like sent out into the streets. Turns out this thing's name is 964 Pinocchio and he's a cyborg. So he's just wandering around the streets of Japan and he stumbles upon this girl named Himiko. Himiko is homeless and lives in this like abandoned building and she sees this fucking thing and is like, you can come live with me. Eventually we find out that Pinocchio is a cyborg schmeck slave and he was created by this company for this client, but he was unable to keep it up. So the client found him to be useless and just released him into the wild. Now, when the director of the company learns about this, he's furious and he's like, we need to go find this thing because if we don't, then people might find out what we're doing here and we don't want that. But the reason that Pinocchio was lobotomized before he was sent out was so that he has no memory. And we learn that Himiko also has no memory. So she starts to bring him around and he just acts like a fucking rabid animal. Again, he's a cyborg. Through much effort, she eventually teaches him how to say his name. And this sparks some sort of breakthrough and he suddenly like becomes self-aware. The two of them kiss and like get it on. Apparently he's able to keep it up now. And this triggers this absolutely vile metamorphosis. And he literally starts just leaking like blood, pus, and vomit. Like I said, do not eat when you're watching this movie. And the same thing happens to Himiko. There's this like disgusting vomit scene in a train station. It's almost reminiscent of possession. But eventually through this metamorphosis, her memories return to her. So she goes back to Pinocchio post-metamorphosis and pretends like she's going to help him. But instead like betrays him for some reason and shackles him to a slab of concrete and is like, haha, I tricked you. Again, I really have no fucking idea why. But eventually he ends up escaping and he like runs through the streets of Japan as everybody's staring at him. And I swear to God, this scene of him just running goes on for like 20 minutes. Meanwhile, the director of the company and his minions are still trying to find Pinocchio. The director literally like only eats maraschino cherries. I say that because it's going to be relevant later. And eventually Himiko ends up teaming up with them to help them find Pinocchio and destroy him. So the director and two of his minions end up like running into Pinocchio in this field. And he proceeds to just charge at them and he kills the director by like disemboweling him by punching a hole through his stomach. And out of his stomach falls like hundreds of maraschino cherries. This movie's so fucking outrageous. Pinocchio leaves the other two alone and they're just left to like weirdly fucking mourn over the director's body. They like gyrate and stuff. I don't fucking know. But then Himiko shows up and confronts Pinocchio in the field and she instructs him to tear his face off. But instead she tears her own face off, which then reveals this. So she's a fucking cyborg too. So Pinocchio proceeds to attack her and rip her head off and then attach it to himself. So the two of them end up just being this weird hybrid cyborg and the movie ends with a voiceover just saying like, I love being with you. Yeah, weirdest shit I've ever seen.